Good evening and welcome to this week's Hamayan Parsha Shiur. The Parsha this week is Ekev, and the topic tonight is how can we, humans, bless Hashem? How can a little, puny human being bless the Creator and the Almighty? Now, I thought we'd start with asking you a question. Just general knowledge, general Torah knowledge. What mitzvot can we do which involve speech? When I ask that question, I mean what biblical mitzvahs are there that are not action-based, like most mitzvot? Most mitzvot are telling us to do something, right? There's mitzvahs to do with what we eat, there's mitzvahs to do with business, there's mitzvahs to do with all different aspects of life, but they're mostly about what we do. There are some mitzvahs that involve the mind and heart, things that we should think about, things that we should not think about, feelings that we should aim to engender. But then there are some mitzvahs that involve speech. So what are they? Let's think. Well, there are a number of ways under the general banner of Ahavat Yisrael, love your fellow like yourself. This can be done through speech, of course, comforting the mourners, visiting the sick. Many ways that we can encourage people and help them under the banner of Ahavat Yisrael. But specific mitzvot. There are a number of negative ones. Do not hurt others, embarrass others verbally. There's particular mitzvahs about not oppressing the widow and the orphan, the convert. But what about in terms of positive mitzvot of speech? There are a few, but not many. One, maybe a little obscure, is the proclamation recited when someone would bring the Bikurim, or there's also a similar proclamation related to Maaser. But in terms of regular life, the most common one would be the blessing that we make after eating a meal. Birchat Hamazon, the blessing after a meal, which includes bread. There are other ones, there's Parshat Zachar, but this is the most common one, and it appears in our Parsha. Let's look at the psukim, at the verses that introduce this mitzvah. And this is in the first text. Ki Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God, Meviyacha al Eretz Tova, is bringing you to a good land, Eretz Nachle Mayim, a land with brooks of water. Ayanot otamot yotzim bebika v'har. Fountains and depths emerge in valleys and mountains. And this land will be the land of Israel, and it will be Eretz Chit HaSa'ar, a land of wheat and barley. V'gefen oteina v'rimon, of vine, figs, and pomegranates. Eretz et shemen udvash, a land of oil-producing olives and honey. And when you're in this land with so many different fruit and produce, you'll not lack anything there. As the next verse continues, Test 9, Eretz asher lo v'miskenut tachal b'lechem. It's a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity. La techzar kolba, you will not lack anything in it. Eretz asher v'ner varzel, a land whose stones are iron. Umhareh tachzav nechoshet, and from whose mountains you will hew copper. And now in this land, in this place of plenty, this place where you have everything you need in terms of food, in terms of supplies, what should you do? V'achalta v'savata, you'll eat and you'll be satisfied. Uveirachtas Hashem lekecha, bless Hashem your God. Al haaretz hatov asher natan lach, on for the good land that He has given you. So thank Hashem for the good that you are given. Now, this is very important because when things are going well, when we feel like we're on top of the world, it's very easy to develop arrogance, to feel I'm totally in control, I don't need any help. And therefore, the Torah tells us, no, when you go into the land and things are good for you, that is when you should bless Hashem. When you are satisfied physically, you've eaten a nice meal, and it also, the feeling is emotionally as well, that's when you have to acknowledge Hashem. You know, there's a famous line from Reb Chaim of Tzanz. He was speaking to one of his Hasidim, one of his followers who had become very wealthy, and he asks him, what's the difference between a window and a mirror? They're both made of glass, right? Difference is because of that silver coating. With the mirror, you look at it and you only see yourself. When you scratch off that coating, it becomes a window and you can see others, you can look at others. And that is important when when things are doing well, that we have to remember Hashem and not just see ourselves as the be-all and end-all and the source of all our success. And this takes us to the comment of the Sifri. The Sifri is an early halachic medrash written about 1850 years ago, and says as follows: V'achalta v'savata. The pasuk said that you'll eat and be satisfied, and then continues with Hishamar lachem. You should guard yourself. Pen yivtel vavchem. Perhaps your heart will turn you astray. And Sifri comments, Hizaru, be careful. Shemer timrdu b'makom. You may rebel against Hashem. She'einot amered elam mitech seva. A person only rebels against Hashem when things are doing well for him. Kayotze, as we find similarly, and I'll just summarize the rest of the quote in English, that when people were doing well, they had eaten and drunk, and they were satisfied, and that's when they made the golden calf. So when are we at the greatest spiritual danger? When we feel like we are in total control. Like actually right now in the world, we're quite aware that we're not in control, and hopefully everything will improve drastically and quickly, and we'll soon be with Mashiach. But that feeling that we're not in control is a true feeling, and it's a time to throw our burden to Hashem, say, we know Hashem, it's really up to you. And that's what benching, that's what the grace after meals is about. So a lion doesn't roar, says the Gemara, standing over a basket of straw from which it derives no pleasure, as he roars when satiated. But he roars standing over a basket of meat. This is comparable to a person who has a lean but large... Sorry, the wording is a bit mixed in this cut and paste. If someone has a lean but large cow, that cow does not really doesn't get aggressive when it's eating only basic foods. But once it's eating nicer, higher quality foods, then suddenly it kicks the owner. And the owner says, hey, what are you doing? And the what's actually happening is, wait a sec, that's because the cow is now feeling strong, it's got everything it needs, and that's actually the cause of it being more aggressive. So we've got to realize when we have everything we need and more, that we should realize that it's from Hashem. Okay, so that is the basic reason for benching. And actually, even the specific blessings, we know that the Birkat HaMazon includes 4 blessings. The first one is the blessing of Hazan, thanking Hashem for giving us the food that satiates us. That was actually established by Moshe Rabbeinu. The second blessing, starting with Nodeh and ending with the bracha that ends with thanking Hashem for the land and the food, is the blessing which Yeshua instituted. The third blessing, Rachem, which ends with talking about Jerusalem and asking Hashem for rebuilding of Jerusalem, was established by Dovid and Shlomo, King David and King Solomon. And then the final blessing was established only later, after the rebellion of Bar Kokhba failed, and the Romans then did not let the survivors bury those who had been killed in the rebellion for many years. After they were finally allowed to bury them, that's when this blessing was established, as we'll soon see. Either way, the Gemara says that hinted in the words of the Parsha are the three and actually the four blessings. The first three are the earlier blessings, right? With Moshe, Yeshua, and Dovid and Shlomo. And then the fourth one, a later blessing, but all of them are hinted at least in the Parsha. The Gemara says, I'll read it in English, from where is it derived that the grace after meals is from? The sages taught in a Tosefta. And you shall eat and be satisfied. So the beginning of the verse, the verse continues, and you shall bless Hashem. So the beginning of the verse is, and you shall eat and be satisfied. And then what you do? Bless. That is the first blessing, Hazan, where we thank Hashem for being satisfied. Then it continues, Al Haaretz, on the land. That is the second blessing, Noda, where we talk about Eretz Yisrael. The third blessing, the good land. Good. What is the greatest part about the land? The good part of the land? That is Jerusalem, building Yerushalayim, the third blessing. And then that Hashem has given you, the fourth blessing refers to the blessing of Hatova Meitiv. And actually, as explained as the Alter Rebbe explains in Shulchan Aruch, that all other blessings, this is the Alter Rebbe says this in chapter 46 of Orach Chaim, that all other blessings that we make each day are derivatives in some way of this blessing as well. But where do the blessings come from? We make not just the biblical blessing of grace after meals, Birkat HaMazon, but we make a lot of blessings. Actually, we make 100 blessings each day. And the Alter Rebbe quotes, based on the Gemara, that there was a plague in the times of Dovid, in the times of King David. And he was unaware what's going on, what is causing this plague. And then it was revealed to him with Ruach HaKodesh, with the divine inspiration, that the way to fix this plague is, if we thank Hashem, we make 100 blessings each day, that will end the plague. That will lift us spiritually and then also physically, and will end the plague. And this is hinted in this week's Parsha. It says that Va'ata Yisrael, if you see the last line of the quote before number 2, before Rabbeinu Bachya, the last line says, Va'ata Yisrael, now Israel, Ma Hashem lekecha shel me'imach, what is Hashem your God asking you? This word ma can also be read as me'ah, meaning Hashem is asking you for 100 blessings. King David HaMelech made that enactment, 100 blessings per day, and everything went back to good in his kingdom. Now, as Rabbeinu Bachya points out, and this is the next quote, I'll just say it outside, the great Spanish sage, in medieval times, says that this is the source of all brachas that we make today. Now, let's try to understand what is this idea of blessing Hashem? What is the idea of a blessing normally? When someone is lacking something and you bless them that they should receive what they're lacking. Or even if they're not lacking but they want more of something, you bless them, you should have this, you should have whatever they want. So what does it mean that we bless Hashem? Hashem has everything. And how can what power do we have to be the ones to bless Hashem, to give Hashem, so to speak, something new that he doesn't have before? It's just so strange. When people say Baruch Hashem, you ask someone, how are you doing? Yeah, Baruch Hashem, fine. How do we understand this term, Baruch Hashem? We normally understand it as thank God. We're saying, I'm fine, thank God. But that's not what the word Baruch actually means. The word Baruch means to bless. So what are we saying? What do we mean when we say Baruch Hashem, bless bless God. He's doing fine without us, I would think. Well, let's first look at what a blessing means in general. What is a blessing really about? So, right at the beginning of the Torah, in the 6 days of creation, there's a number of times where we use this word bless, that Hashem blesses different aspects of creation. One of them you see here, at the top of the Bereshis, chapter 1, Vayivra Elokim es hatanim hagdolim v'kol nefesh hachaya harimeses asher shartza hamayim. Hashem created these mighty creatures and all the animals that are moving around in the water, and etc. And then and all different animals. And then Vayivarch Hashem Elokim Lemar. Hashem blessed them, saying, "Pru uravu, you should be fruitful and multiply. Umilos hamayim beyamim, you should fill all the water of the seas. You should have not only a few sea creatures, but many, millions and millions, billions, etc." So what do we see here? We see that the idea of a blessing is related to that they should expand, and that's actually, says Rabbi Yagon, the great, originally from Egypt, but then moved to Babylon, modern-day Iraq, and was the Gaon, the leader of the Jewish people, which was based then in Iraq. And he says that, he says, this is the next quote, Nosan lema bracha shel piri avaribia. Hashem blessed the animals with this blessing of being fruitful and multiply. And we find this also with people, where Hashem blesses them. For example, Hashem blessed different people, including some of our patriarchs and matriarchs, even Hagar, and blesses them with children. Similarly, we find this with plants, that Hashem says, if you keep the mitzvah of Shemitah, then I will bless you, and that you'll have a lot of produce. So that's the sort of most common understanding of blessing, that you should produce, you should have a lot of produce, you should continue and expand. We see this even with humans. In Kiddush on Friday night, we say, Vayivarech Elokim es yom hashvi, that Hashem blessed the seventh day. What does this mean? In what way was the seventh day blessed? We know it's holy, it's sanctified, but how is it blessed? So Ibn Ezra says the meaning of bracha is added goodness. In particular, physically, the ability to procreate, and spiritually, the power of awareness and intellect. So this was something which Hashem says, with the seventh day, I might not be creating anything physically in this world, but I am giving you a blessing, physically, of being fruitful and multiply, and spiritually, awareness, intellect. Those are blessings associated with Shabbos, and it's interesting that there's both that physical and spiritual side associated, and hopefully the prayers and the atmosphere on Shabbos nourish that power of awareness and intellect too. That is all when we're blessing a human, or even an animal, plants. They all can grow. But what does it mean with blessing Hashem? And this is a question which the Rashba was a great Spanish rabbi. He's a halachist and a Talmudist, also a doctor, leader of his community. And he asks this question. Ma'u inyan habrachas? What is this concept of brachas, of blessings to Hashem? Shabracha taisefes teva. Blessings normally is to add in goodness. What can we, Hashem's servants, add to our master? He has everything. So let's consider for a moment. What was Abraham's request when people came and they ate for free at his hotel in the middle of the desert? He said, okay, here's the fee. It was a very expensive fee. If you want, I'll waive the fee as long as you do this mitzvah. Which mitzvah did he ask people to do? Did he ask them, I don't know, he could have made a tefillin stand maybe, or ask them to take upon themselves a mitzvah of, I don't know, kosher. What did he ask them to do? Even, okay, so they're Noahides. There's a number of mitzvahs he could say, work towards establishing a justice system. It was specifically the mitzvah to ask everyone to thank Hashem, to bless Hashem for the meals. And so we see this concept of blessing Hashem. He asked them to bless Hashem, being all the way back from the beginning of our ancestry from Abraham. Actually, the Torah ascribes great praise to the first one who blessed Hashem. We know that when the Jewish people left Egypt, the Torah could not be given until Yitro arrived. Only when Yisro arrived could the Torah be given. What was special with Yisro arriving? One of the things is, and the commentaries say, is that he blessed Hashem. Okay? He said, blessed is Hashem who saved the Jewish people, from the hands of Egypt. And the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Genai hu l'Moshe. This is actually a something derogatory about Moshe, V'shishim Ribui, and the 600,000 Jewish families with him. Shelo yomer baruch. None of them blessed Hashem. Ad sheba Yisro, until Yisro arrived, v'amar baruch, and he said, blessed is Hashem. Okay, so Yisro blessed Hashem, and the Jewish people, the entire Israelites with Moshe as their leader, did not do so. And the question is, what do you mean? They did thank Hashem, they did appreciate Hashem. So let's look the next quote from Likutei Sichot. What does it mean that Yitro was the first to bless Hashem? What of the song of appreciation that Moshe and the Jewish people recited at the splitting of the sea? Even if the Gemara means that Yitro was the first to use the word Baruch, bless, why is this word so uniquely special? So, if the Gemara is criticizing Moshe and the Jewish people for not blessing Hashem, then what's wrong? They did thank Hashem. They sang a whole song of thanks, Az Yashir, at the splitting of the sea. We can also add another question that Mefarshim ask. Yitro was not the first one to say Baruch Hashem either. We know that Eliezer said it as well, as we'll see soon, and others. So what made Yitro special? And why was he necessary, his blessing of Hashem, a necessary prerequisite for receiving the Torah? So let's first look at the simple meaning of blessing Hashem. Sefer Chinuch says that blessing Hashem is not really blessing in the conventional sense. It really means that we're thanking Hashem, we're appreciating Hashem, we're acknowledging that everything comes from Hashem. Sefer Chinuch says, Ba'amreinu tamid. Look at where the number 4 is. Sefer Chinuch Mitzvah Taflamed, the book of Chinuch, mitzvah number 430. Ba'amreinu tamid bevrachas. When we always say in blessings, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem. Einam mashmos kafi adayim l'haisif bracha. It's not that we're trying to add blessing. B'misha einit tzarech l'shum brachas chalila, to someone who doesn't need any blessings. That's not the intention. We're just trying to acknowledge Hashem. And so therefore there's two meanings of blessing really. There's blessing with other people, which means we want to give them something, and blessing with Hashem, which is more about acknowledgement. You know the story with the child who felt like his parents were giving him everything and he couldn't become his own man. And he decided he's going to go out. As a teenager, he's going to leave the house, and he told his parents, that's it. You stifle me, you don't let me express myself, you don't let me be my own person, I'm out of here. And he left. And he really didn't have a plan. He slept in a bus stop for a couple nights. And then someone finds him and says, hi, Are you, what's your name? Tells him his name. You're looking for a place to live? Yeah. How about you do some gardening for me and you can stay in my spare bedroom? So it's like, yeah, great. And he moves in. A couple days pass. And then someone sort of approaches him, says, are you looking for work? I'm looking for an assistant in my bakery. Yeah, great. Goes out to work. Works for a few months, learns about how to manage a bakery, and then he's walking out of the shop, the close of business. Someone comes up to him and says, I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy a bakery, but I need someone practically to manage it. Are you possibly able to do that? Yeah, great. And within 6 months, this bakery's expanded. They've got now a chain of bakeries, 4 bakeries. He's doing really well. He goes back home and he tells his parents, look, it's less than a year. Look at how well I'm doing. I never need you. You were just stifling my growth. His father turns to him and says, I'm so happy you're doing well. Just want to ask you a question. Who do you think sent the fellow who offered you a place to stay? And how do you think you got that first job as a bakery? How about the investor? Do you think they just happened? I directed and paid for everything necessary for you to find your accommodation, for you to get that job. I was paying your salary. And the investor, I was the one who really invested that money. So sometimes we think that it's all us, and then Hashem is actually pulling these strings and helping us throughout. And that acknowledgement is what we want to realize with benching. And whenever we bless Hashem, we're acknowledging Hashem's part. Okay, so that's one answer. And this is actually also what the Gemara says in Brachat, page Lamed Hey 35, that whenever we eat something, if we eat it without saying a blessing, then we're stealing from Hashem, one who derives benefit. Now I'm reading inside, one who derives benefit from this world without a blessing, it is as if he enjoyed objects consecrated to the heavens. So we're taking away from Hashem. As it is stated, the earth and all it contains is the Lord's, the world and all those who live in it. L'Hashem Haaretz U'Meleah. Okay, and then it continues that after we make a blessing, then that acknowledgement of Hashem is when Hashem says, oh, okay, great, now you can have it. That is the simple meaning of a blessing. But now, let's move to perhaps a deeper perspective. Throughout the world, there are billions of people and far more animals, plants, etc. And there are 2 basic perspectives on all of this. One is that there was this chance, Big Bang, and then evolution, development, and slowly we ended up randomly with the world as we have it today. The other perspective is that there's a creator. This is not by chance, and there's a creator who decided on how things should be and created each item and each living thing according to the creator's will and with a purpose in mind. And obviously, things are not random and things don't make themselves. And there's a creator, and the creator has purpose here. The problem is that this is not readily obvious to all people in this world. It's not readily obvious to everyone. When they see a tree, not everyone says, wow, look at the complexity, look at the beauty. This shows on a creator. And therefore, we have a job to do. We have a job. Just like with the blessing, we're asking for the flow of goodness to come down to that person. When we bless Hashem, we are asking also, and we're actually helping towards letting that flow of godliness spread and be revealed within our world. There's a very strange Gemara which actually talks about it. It was made into a song by Avram Fried. Tanya, right? Where the Gemara says that the Kohen Gadol went into the Holy of Holies and he sees Hashem, and Hashem says, Yishmael b'ni, Yishmael my son, the name of the Kohen Gadol, bless me. And Yishmael, the Kohen Gadol, goes ahead and blesses Hashem. And the question is, what does that mean? Hashem's asking a human to bless him? But the idea is that, yes, when we bless Hashem, we are bringing down this revelation of Hashem, so to speak, expanding Hashem's visible presence in a way that wasn't so before. You know, there's a question about Kaddish. We say Kaddish after someone who's departed. But in Kaddish, there's no mention of the soul that departed, of the asking for blessing for that person. It only talks about Yiskadav Yiskadash Shmei Rabbi, that Hashem's name should be great and sanctified. We only talk about Hashem and how His presence should be revealed and sanctified throughout the entire world. What does that have to do with someone passing away? How is that the appropriate prayer? An explanation that actually Rabbi Steinsaltz, Even Yisrael, who should have a refuah shlema, Adin ben Rivka Leah, explains that it's not, you're right, it's not directly talking about the soul. But what it is doing is the best possible response to passing. Each of us, every individual, by their very presence, sanctifies Hashem in this world and reveals Hashem in this world. When a person passes away, there is less revelation of Hashem in the world because each of us reflects godliness. Now there's one less of us here. And therefore, the best response is to say, Yiskadav Yiskadash Shmei Rabbi, to sanctify Hashem's name, to reveal, let Hashem's presence be manifest down here in this world, because that has been lost a little bit by the loss of this individual. So what is a blessing about? A blessing is really about, as it says, explained in Torah Or, that it's Tiknu Chazal Levarech Birchas HaMitzvahs. The rabbis established that we say a blessing before mitzvahs because Lifnei Kol Mitzvah, before each mitzvah, Ki Baruch Lashon HaMavrich. The word Baruch means to bend down. Shehu Hagefen. When you have a vine, if you bend it down in order to get more nutrients from the ground, that is called Mavrich, from the same word as bracha. And then he continues that this is also the meaning of why Yosef is called Avreich, from the word bracha as well, to bend over. This is why the knees are also called birkayim. It helps us bend over. Because the whole idea of blessing Hashem is about bringing down Hashem's, the flow of Hashem's energy here to be revealed down here. Now, you know, there's a similar, we see a similar word also used about with Eliezer when he took the camels to have a drink, when Rivka fed the camels. So they're also vayavrech, they bent over. It's this same idea of bending over, bringing down the revelation of Hashem into our world. And this is the meaning of all blessings. This also explains something very interesting. When Hashem was angry at the Jewish people, and he says they're no good and I've got to destroy them, Moshe gives an argument, Ma yomer hagayim. What will the nation say if you give up on your people? And the question is, why are we focused on that? What will others think? You know, people who say that the main thing is what will be written about us in the paper. Who cares? Why does that matter? But the answer is, yes, it matters. Because the mission of the Jewish people in this world is to bring godliness to be manifest and revealed in the common arena everywhere. And therefore it matters what others think about Hashem and about Hashem's relationship with his people. It matters because that is what blessing is about. That is what actually, like Avram said, this is the main mitzvah. It's all about revealing godliness in the common arena. And that's also why we need Yisra to bless Hashem. Right? We asked before, what do we need Yisra for? Why was that necessary for the giving of the Torah? Because until someone came from representing the foreign world and came and recognized Hashem, we could not get the Torah. The Torah is about revealing godliness to us. Yisra was like the Pope of that time. He was the leader of the other pagan religions. And him coming and saying, the greatest religious figure, and him coming and acknowledging Hashem and the Torah was saying godliness has permeated everywhere. What is the lesson from all of this? In all our actions we have to bless Hashem. When we eat we have to bless Hashem, meaning all our actions have to reveal godliness. Do I reveal godliness? Am I an ambassador for Hashem in the way I do business? Am I revealing godliness in the way I have my leisure time, the way I eat, sleep, entertainment? In a time like now where shuls are closed, the message is reveal Hashem in everything you do. Everything you do, everywhere that you are, whoever you meet, whether physically or on Zoom, these are all opportunities to reveal godliness, to bless Hashem, so to speak, meaning to reveal Hashem within the space that Hashem has given us. Wishing you success in your mission, and thank you for joining me.